My uncle, Fred Woods, was born in Warrington in 1922. His father worked on the Manchester Ship Canal, operating the bridges and lock gate. Fred left school at 13 and found work as a bread lad on a horse and cart. When he was a teenager, he was a champion swimmer and won lots of trophies in competitions. In 1940, when Fred was only 18, he volunteered for the Royal Navy, and he was rejected at first due to a childhood injury to his hand, so he joined the dental branch and became a dental technician. He joined HMS Hecla in January 1941, and soon after his ship began escorting food supply convoys to and from Canada. However, on the 12th of November 1942, at 15 minutes past midnight, in the pitch black darkness of the morning, Fred's ship, weighing 10,850 tons, was torpedoed 4 times by a German U-boat, hitting the engine room with a giant explosion and causing it to slowly sink. I first became aware of Uncle Fred's wartime endeavours in my Granny Woods' house, because she has a glass display cabinet that had some carved boats that were inside, and I was absolutely fascinated with them and how Uncle Fred had made them from old pieces of wood from the boat. The Royal Navy always give their ships aggressive or powerful sounding names to strike fear into their enemies, and the name Hecla actually comes from a very high volcano in the southwest of Iceland. A typical day in the life of Uncle Fred would have seen him looking after some of the other crewmen, doing his dental practice, and then working to clean the ship up. On the day before the attack, the crewmen were resting as they had been working really hard. Unbeknown to them, a German U-boat was circling them with its other sister ships. Fred's description of the night is very accurate. The torpedo struck without warning. My friends Arthur and Eric quickly gathered together on the deck. It was crowded and any escape to the upper deck was blocked. Eric decided to go down below, saying he wanted something from the storeroom. I fortunately had a torch that was issued to me as being being a member of the decontamination squad. Arthur and I decided we should go alongside the engine stoker's mess deck and find an escape route to the upper deck. We were lucky and we were making our way back to the back of the ship. We were stopped suddenly on the edge of a gaping hole where the explosion had happened. We then decided to retrace our steps and go to the abandoned ship station on the starboard side. Eventually we made the well deck. At this time, our sister ship, the Marnie, put on her searchlight, obviously to see her way clear to come alongside and to rescue us. However, the light of the searchlight was switched off quickly because the submarine was sighted again, and so Arthur and I then lost contact. Time was running out, so I returned to the well deck to make my way backwards again. Here the life rafts were being securely tied. I then overlooked the rail and saw the unmistakable sign of another torpedo heading straight towards us. It blew a huge hole into the side. I was absolutely drenched and then decided it was time to forget about anything floatable and take my chance in the drink, which is the Navy slang for the sea. I was determined not to jump, as at that time the stern of the ship was rising high off the water. I looked around and eventually found a rope that was tied to the rail. I then hopped over the side and lowered myself, only to find a bald-headed chap at the bottom clinging on, saying he couldn't swim. I said, "You'll have to let go and make sure your life belt is inflated." The Hecla was then wallowing and I found myself under the propellers. Being a good swimmer, I thought it was wise to swim sideways to clear the ship. Here I wasted a lot of energy as the suction kept dragging me backwards. I gave up doing my crawl stroke and I found myself drifting with the current clear of the stern and joined other survivors. The few floating rafts that had been released were really overcrowded. In the meantime, the Marnie, our sister boat, had also been torpedoed, and I wonder how my friend Arthur had fared. It was then I decided to do another swim for the Venomous, which was another boat that was nearby, which was a dark, ghostly outline in the darkness. Of course, the other boat, the Venomous, had to keep moving for safety, and I now found myself totally exhausted, but at least well clear of the Hecla. By this time I was so tired I thought my time was up. I could see the Hecla in the distance sinking stern first, thinking my time really was up. I said goodbye to the Hecla and my family, and not forgetting my family dog Rex. It was in a strange way peacefully content to just lie on my back with the help of my life belt. I must have been unconscious with my luck changed. It was at this time that I felt a bump on the back of my head. It was an empty life raft, so I pulled myself across it and then began vomiting due to all the fuel oil that I must have swallowed during the swim. Later on, a voice called out in the darkness, "Do you mind if I join you?" Of course I didn't mind. We were both clung on, not saying much to each other. We seemed to have drifted around for ages when salvation appeared in the form of a chap standing in the stern of a hold boat. We asked if we could join him and others who were on the boat. We climbed on and sat down, still up to our waist in water. All I wanted to do now was close my eyes and sleep, as by this time the exhaustion was overtaking me completely. All through the very cold morning, the chaps in the boat wanted us to bail the water, and we were extremely exhausted. The next incident, still in the confusion of my mind, was the appearance of what I thought was a huge whale. I even had a small piece of timber to beat it off with. There was an odd rumbling sound, and over the years I've come to the conclusion that it was the conning tower of the surface German U-boat 1515 that had sunk us, running on its electric motors as it passed by in a straight line. I believe a crew boat of the U-boat did mention this fact in an interview years later, that they did surface during the night. It was well into the next day when we were picked up and I scrambled up the nets to be welcomed by the gallant venomous crew and the survivors that were aboard. I headed for the crew's rest area and got my head down. Later, a torchlight was flashed in my eyes, possibly to check that I was still alive. Later, another ship, the Venomous, pulled alongside the Marne, and I waved to Arthur Bullock, who had managed to be saved by the Marne. Goodness knows how. I was pleased to see them. I remember very well being given a neat rum and a tin of corned beef and using the bottom of my tin as a spoon to eat the meat. A seaman of the Venomous gave me a duffel coat, and I used the deep pockets to store the corned beef and the lid later for snacks. Sadly, my friend Eric Wood did not survive, and of the 858 personnel on board, 257 other officers and sailors died. Fred's courage, willpower and determination allowed him to get off his boat and survive in the ocean for many hours. His story is shared by all the servicemen and women who gave up their lives in both world wars, and this is something that we should all remember.